Good morning, students. Welcome to my channel Let's Understand. Today I am going to teach you the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. This is specially for my CBSE students. So before starting on this story, let me tell you something about the backdrop of the story. The setting of the story is in Alsace. Alsace is, you can say, the area or the province in France which acts as a boundary between Switzerland and this Germany. At that time, it is Prussia. So this story is written by Alphonse Daudet, who was born in 13th May 1840, and he has written this story on the backdrop of a Franco-Prussian war which was going on in 1870 to 71. So this background of the story is completely based on this Franco-Prussian war, where France is having a tremendous pressure from Prussia, and Prussia waged a war against France to occupy or to conquer these two provinces of Alsace and Lorraine. Now, what are the effects? They have a Treaty of Frankfurt. After the war, France loses Alsace and Lorraine to Prussia, and they have a Treaty of Frankfurt. What happens is next, the effects of this war, the conquerors, what the conquerors try to do with the men, with the people, they try to curb the freedom of these people living in Alsace and Lorraine. So one of such curbing imposition on them is their language. They are basically using the French language. So they are learning French as their mother tongue. Now, when France lost Alsace and Lorraine to Germany, Germany imposed the German language on them rather than teaching them French. So it has been, well, you will go through the story, we will say that M. Hamel, a French language teacher in the school of Alsace, he says that the order has been come from Berlin that today, from now onwards, or from today onwards, from the next day, whatever it is, German will be taught in the schools instead of French. French will no longer be taught in the schools of Alsace. So that comes as a very much shocking, and you can also feel the sense of attachment with your mother tongue with it. When you are always very reluctant and with pre-planned that, oh, today's lesson, oh, we have to read today our mother tongue. We try to ignore. We give more preference to other languages, especially like English. We give more preference to English, but the same preference we are not giving to our mother tongue. With learning of this story, we'll come to know that we should not take our mother tongue as granted, because it is the identity, the first language that we learn, the first thought that comes to our mind is our mother tongue. So the first communication we do with the society, with our family, whatever, to whomever it is through our mother tongue. The languages, the other languages comes later to us. Whatever, how many languages we learn, but have you ever thought, when you dream, we dream only in your mother tongue. It is no other language that we are having an interaction with others in our dream in any other language except the mother tongue. So the mother tongue is the patriotism towards our mother tongue is the cornerstone of our identity and self-esteem. It is what we are. It is our identity. Collective identity is our mother tongue. So we should give much priority to our mother tongue as well. Now, when this story has been narrated in the perspective, the first person narration, in the perspective of a little boy named Franz. So when he is going to school one day, he is very much nervous of getting rebuked by M. Hamel because he has not done his French lessons as a homework which was given to him to learn participles. You know, every language is having grammar. English, you are learning English grammar. French language, you are having French grammar. German, having grammar. Every language is having their own grammar. And more or less all the grammar rules are same. So now this Franz has got to learn participles. Participles, you know, there are two participles, the present participle and the past participle. The present participle is the ing form of the verb. Participles are mostly verbs. The ing form is the present participle and the ed form is the past participle. So Franz to Franz, it is very much more or less very much ignorable. He doesn't like to read the French language. So he was very much scared that he will get the scolding from M. Hamel, and he feels more tempted to spend the day outside by listening to the chirping of the birds and looking at the Prussian soldiers. But he quickly recollects and he hurried off to school. While going on to the school, he was said by the watcher is the name of the blacksmith, who says him not to be so much in hurry because he will reach the school so early. But when he reached there, he sees the bulletin board and a crowd of people covering the bulletin board. He thinks that throughout these years all the bad news has come in this bulletin board. Now what is it? Quickly he rushed towards the classroom. He goes inside the classroom and he sees that the classroom is much quiet, as if it was a Sunday classroom. The other days hustle and bustles were missing. It was absent. It was quiet and silent. The first thing that strikes Franz. He goes quickly inside the classroom and he sees that M. Hamel is in his best dress with a green coat and a iron ruler under his arm. He is walking up and down wearing a hat, embroidered hat. Means he is in his best clothes. You can say the prize day clothes or the best Sunday clothes. Why is he in such best clothes? The second thing that strikes Franz. The third one, he sees that the last bench, which was always empty, is now filled with the villagers. Now why the villagers has come? Is it something which is going on? So these are the three things that strikes Franz. But when M. Hamel starts speaking, he says at the very beginning that an order has been issued from Berlin, that from the next day German will be the language which is going to be taught in the school of Alsace. The French language will no longer be taught to them. So this was the first news which was said by M. Hamel, which arrives as a shock to the little boy Franz. And at this point of time, he feels regret of ignoring, of avoiding, or being casual towards learning French, which was his mother tongue. So at this point of time, the three senses evoke within him together the sense of patriotism, the sense of regret, and the sense of attachment. He now realizes that I don't even know how to learn, how to write my mother tongue. I wish I could have got more time. So this is the thing, that when we pre-plan something, but we are very much oblivious to the fact that life is full of uncertainty. At any time, it can get changed at any fraction of seconds. It doesn't take much time. So we should not postpone any of our work for the next day. Rather, we should do as much as we can complete it today. Okay, so this is the thing that has been highlighted very clearly, the uncertainty of life. So when the Franco-Prussian War is going on and these are the things, the order has been issued, and such is the chaotic situation and a very emotional atmosphere, at this point M. Hamel starts teaching the French language, the last lesson. He says that today I will teach you the last lesson of the French language. This is the last lesson I will teach you. So this is not the last lesson because the French language is getting over, but because M. Hamel, the French language will be not taught further. So that is why this is the last lesson for the French language. He starts teaching the French grammar followed by the writing. And when the class is going on and they are writing, the class is too much silent rather than the other days, which was full of noise. Only noise heard in the class is the scratching of the pens while writing. So that much is the silence. We say it a pin drop silence. Only the noise of the scratching or the sound. It's not the noise at all. The sound of the scratching of pens. Now the last bench, the villagers were sitting over there. Out of the villagers, there are old Hauser, the former mayor, the former postmaster. So they all have come and sat to pay a tribute to M. Hamel as well as to the French language. This also evokes a sense of regret within them, that why haven't they paid much attention, or why haven't they take it seriously, and for learning the French language, which is their own identity. They don't know how to speak, how to write their own language. It is very much fair when the Germans will come and they will ask them to write or read or to speak fluently. They cannot. So what is the use of learning your mother tongue when you don't even know your mother tongue properly? That's a very justified question. So learn German. So this is a kind of a shame as well, that we are not knowing our mother well properly. Now what goes on? M. Hamel is sitting and he is trying to occupy, he is observing everything. He has a garden outside the school where he has planted the Hofwein, a kind of a creeper with his own hands. He is trying to collect all the things, the visualization. He is visualizing everything in his, and he wants to store it in his mind because he is working there for 40 years. He has an attachment with the school as well. So after the class, he says that French, he says some beautiful things about the French language, that it is the most beautiful language, and saying so, when he tries to speak further, he gets stuck, he gets emotional and he gets stuck. He stood up, he took a chalk and he wrote on the board, Vive la France. Vive la France means long live France. Then he, with a gesture, he is not able to talk with the emotions, it choked within his throat, and he just make a gesture and let them know that the class is dismissed for the day. Okay, now this is the outlook of the story. At a certain point, when the boy Franz, he is going to school and he is getting scared of getting rebuked, the same thing happens in the classroom when M. Hamel asked Franz to say about participles. But Franz get mixed up and he couldn't answer. But for the first time, M. Hamel doesn't scold the boy. Rather, he blames the boy for being so casual, for postponing his work, blames his parents for not paying too much attention of what their sons are actually learning, and even blames himself that in many times when he wants to go to fishing, he has given them holiday. For all those things, he blames himself as well. So today, M. Hamel has been represented as a very kind and very sensible teacher. But when the beginning of the story, we through Franz, from the first person narrative, the perspective of Franz, we came to know that M. Hamel is a very strict and sincere teacher who scolds the children when they are not able to answer, as all teacher normally does. Okay, so now M. Hamel today, as it is the last lesson, all of them were feeling a sense of attachment, a sense of a sense of love towards the French language. That is why M. Hamel today taught the lesson with so much patience as he has never done before, and therefore he doesn't scold Franz, rather he blames. And now with the last words he says, Vive la France, long live France, and he says one of the most practical and important line of the story, which is, when people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they have key to their prison. So this means that if you grab a tight hold on your language, you can have a key to your prison, means you can attain freedom. You can have a very similar comparison to the Indians as well. When we are ruled by the Britishers, when they imposed the Vernacular Press Act on us and they are trying to suppress our freedom of expression, thought, speech, we cling to our freedom fighters. Our freedom fighters cling to our mother tongue. They fought for it. They have not taken it as granted. Rather, they have given priority to it and they have attained freedom. So it is the line that when people are enslaved, means when people are captured, conquered, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they have key to their prison. The only way, the only hope to attain freedom is to stick to, is having a strong grab on your mother tongue, which is your collective identity. Don't ever leave your identity or the self-esteem, which is only provided to you by your mother tongue. So this is the main theme of the story, that whether you are conquered or you give importance to your mother tongue, which reveals your identity. Learn all the languages. All the languages are important. but primary is your mother tongue. So this is basically a environment, emotional environment, when you are not going to learn, your mother tongue anymore, rather you have to learn others' mother tongue. That is very much not acceptable. So that is what the background of the story and the summary is. So next class I'm going to teach you the story, the explanation line by line. Listen to the video very nicely so that you can catch up with the text. So till now I hope you have understood. So this is a very brief summary. Next class line by line explanation will be helpful for you. So if you have understood, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Bye bye.